to the past, Samurai Jack. Gotta do that. Back to the past, Samurai Jack.
Pass me the crack, it's Samurai Jack. So let's talk about Dexter's Lab. It was my favorite Cartoon Network show alongside The Eds. Dexter was a comedy of a boy genius inventor causing trouble with technology. But there was something special about Dexter, and I'm not talking about the classes Dee Dee attended. Dexter had these hints of action, anime, and comic books. You could tell there were some ambitious people drawing this show who wanted to make something more than the typical comedy. Dexter had its run, and its creator, Genndy Tartakovsky, moved forth to give us a new cartoon. An action cartoon unlike anything on Cartoon Network or TV in general. 2001's Samurai Jack.
Let me tell you of the days of high adventure. Long ago in a distant land, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, unleashed an unspeakable evil. But a foolish samurai warrior wielding a magic sword stepped forth to oppose me. Before the final blow was struck, I tore open a portal in time and flung him into the future, where my evil is law. Now the fool seeks to return to the past and undo the future that is Aku.
When me and the rest of the world saw the 3-part episode premiere, we knew Samurai Jack was something incredible. I mean, where to start? In this origin story, what sold it to me was Jack's first major battle upon landing in the future was against a legion of big bad Beetleborgs. He begins fully armored on horseback, ready to defend these enslaved talking dogs. It's the future, just go with it. All together now, these beetles charge at Jack. Was it satisfying for you all too, witnessing Jack waste each beetle like a shish kebab? Stabs 1, 2, 3, 4, tosses the spear, does it again? Jack's armory is slowly chipped away after killing so many to realize there's a ton more beetles left over. With no more traps, tricks, or armor, all he's got left is his one sword. But Jack's got nothing better to do and has time to kill until room service cleans up his hotel space, so keep on fighting he does.
No. There is no escape.
The slaughter concludes on Jack cut up, soaked in the oil of his mechanical enemies, but victorious, raising his flag over the mountains of robot scrap metal. For me, as a 9-year-old watching this new cartoon, it was the tits, yo. Through the simple art style, they could illustrate an entire army through basic repeating shapes. And you want to up the ante, show the hero taking more and more damage to the point of desperation. I mean, this was crazy. This series was far more cinematic than any other action cartoon I was watching, especially from the American side of animation. There was no wacky sidekick banter, no hero by night, average Joe by day, no preachy morals, no high school. It was just a wandering samurai searching for a portal in time. With minimal dialogue, long stretches could go by without uttering a single phrase. It could tell a story through visuals alone, but that's not to say it was pure action over substance. Jack was a character we can latch onto. His mission was to find a form of time travel that would take him back to the past, to play the shitty games that suck ass, or to stop the demon Aku from, you guessed it, taking over the world. Of course! There were several occasions when a time portal would be right there for him to jump into, go back in time, and defeat Aku. But so often, someone would be in trouble convincing Jack to stop what he was doing to help them. It pissed me off, like none of this would happen if he just entered the portal. What's the point? Jack's weakness is his empathy for others. He wants to save the world, but he doesn't want to leave anybody hanging along the way. It's infuriating to me as a kid, but I now understand his actions.
I will find a way back to my own time. There, I will finish what I started centuries ago and defeat Aku's evil before it was ever truly unleashed.
Think about time travel rules. Like, will going back in time make a new timeline and people here are still suffering? Or is there one timeline? If he's sent to the future and fights Aku in the future, then goes back in time to kill the past Aku, the future he went to beforehand would never have had Aku. So his journey back would be far different had Aku not interfered. Thus, he could not have killed the past Aku in the first place. I don't want to think about this. Let's just make like R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour and don't think about it. This samurai is pitched to us, the audience, as the ultimate badass. I mean, Batman trained with one a-hole in the mountains. Samurai Jack trained with multiple a-holes from all across the world, some of which were also in mountains. But we often see there are warriors equally, if not more skilled than Jack that can jerk the jack. But he was never envious. With his travels, Jack's open to learning to better himself from people of all different nationalities and backgrounds. As long as you're not a robot. Clankers go home. Jack would team up and part ways with many people, but the single recurring ally was the loudmouth Scotsman, sharing the voice of Bender the Robot, John DiMaggio. He's crude and in your face. Scotsman is equally skilled as Jack and wields his own magic sword blessed by Celtic magic, but his greatest strength, like most angry customers, is yelling at you.
What do you think of that, Mr. Pajama-wearing, basket-faced, slipper-wielding, Clive three-buckle, gather up and blade maw, blithering gomerel, Jesse off-looking stunner, nif blukis milk-drinking, soy-faced, show-pit, min-moved, sniveling worm-eyed hootin' block.
He may sound and likely smell of haggis, but he also has a soft spot for his wife that was kidnapped. Who else would he trust to aid in her rescue than Jackie Boy?
My buttercup, my love bunny, I'm here to save thee.
Regardless, this show is really about two characters, Jack versus Aku. Who exactly is this Aku that unleashed an unspeakable evil across the land? Simply, he's one bad semen demon formed from pure hate and is able to transform his body into anything, as long as it's within his color scheme.
Get your fat ass back here.
But what made him truly stand out was his voice actor, Mako Awamatsu. He can just pull off being both evil and comedic. I used to ask myself, can you really take a funny villain like Aku seriously when you see him struggling to do certain things like tell stories to a bunch of kids? I say yeah. If he's goofy but can hold his own, it only makes him feel more real. Whenever there was a villain that was comedic or incompetent, they're typically destined to lose and make a fool out of themselves each time. But Aku could be a joke one day and a threat the next. Just like the hero, they should not be perfect. That's what makes it interesting and more thrilling when they're dominating. Preferably me in bed.
You monster!
Be quiet! I am sorry, my lord. The boy is young and foolish. He does not know what he says.
The boy will return. He will learn proper respect for Aku in the pit of hate.
Yes, oh master, your wisdom is unquestionable.
Related, when I first saw the premiere of Nickelodeon's Avatar: The Last Air Conditioner, the Fire Nation was hyped up to be this genocidal race of people, but then I see the Fire Nation's general, Uncle Iroh, also voiced by Mako. I was expecting a high-ranking villain to always be in shadows, always vengeful, doing nothing but plotting. But off the bat, Iroh was just this chill old man who had his own motives on why he was doing bad.
Please sit. Why don't you enjoy a cup of calming jasmine tea?
It really changed the way I saw villains who wanted to commit mass genocide. Well, hang on, let's backpedal here. But yeah, Mako. Way to be cast as two iconic characters for the same generation of TV. This wasn't the first time Genndy Tartakovsky worked with Mako. Did you notice who voiced the end credits of Dexter's Lab?
Enter at your own peril, past the bolted door where impossible things may happen that the world's never seen before.
In Dexter's laboratory.
The narration only, not the singing. I never understood why the opera theme. But it's obvious Gendy's a big fan of Conan the Barbarian and must have loved Mako as the narrator and goofy wizard in said movie.
You summon demons, wizard?
Yes! I strike at you. I would summon a demon more ferocious than all in hell!
When you watch Conan, you begin to see how Samurai Jack took a ton of inspiration from this and other varying sources. To me, the broader and easier the reference is to recognize, the less impressive it is. Come on, anyone can get a Star Wars reference. People who never watched Star Wars would get it. It just feels too ingrained in pop culture, thus overused when someone pays tribute. There's a tiny bit of that in Samurai Jack, but then there's inspiration only a few people would get. Classic films, obscure science fiction films, and even animation, not just anime, but Hanna-Barbera and Ruby Spears, the shows they grew up with.
Follow the rocky path! It will take you to the dragon's lair!
Where will the other one take me?
Space Ace!
Coming up next, it's Samurai Jack, followed by Justice League on Cartoon Network.
But then there's inspiration only a few people would get. One of the oddest ones is where this split-screen style of editing came about. The crew admitted this was taken from the 70s football film, The Longest Yard. I just love that. They took inspiration from a totally different genre and incorporated into this artsy action animation. Now, claiming something as homage always gets tricky, like how far can inspiration go before it becomes a ripoff. Jack can take something and twist it into its own thing. Often it feels like Jack walked into someone else's story and was a small part of a bigger event, like if Forrest Gump became a samurai. Mama always said, life is like a bento box of sushi. You'd expect a show with nothing but action would grow tiring, but they keep it fresh through 4 seasons and 52 episodes. This futuristic world is capable of anything: a neo-metropolis, ancient empires, 1920s gangster streets, underwater societies, Arabian deserts, Florida. All this is still in the future, except now there's robots. It's kind of jarring sometimes. It's like if I get The Last Supper and add robots to it. But it's a good thing Jack's in the future. As a way for this kid show about a samurai slicing up bad guys with a katana to remain a kid show, Jack restrains himself with human opponents, but is totally fine slashing through sentient robots. All I'm saying is, the day robots integrate into our society, Samurai Jack is not going to be very well accepted. But it's not all about the violence, it's about setting the mood, the calm before the storm. There's more to this world than the tyranny that rules over it, and Jack will take the time to appreciate that. Through its framing, they can turn its minimalist environments into something grand and memorable. A lot of these places and characters only appear once, yet they're very recognizable on the rare occasion they do show up again.
Turn up the volume, increase the man, and get the styles of the tune.
The artist had this motto of no green grass, no blue skies. Keep that to a minimum, forcing themselves to get creative with the color schemes. Like, you could show me a picture of some place or someone and I'll remember, yeah, it was that one guy from that one episode. People underestimate minimalism, thinking more detail means it's better. It's like a corporate logo. If you manage to make a logo or character, especially a minor one, distinct and recognizable enough to know what they're supposed to represent, you did a good job.
The whole show kind of came together from simplicity, and I put it together as like white versus black over red.
Think about why Samurai Jack is dressed in white. No matter what color of enemy or environment he's in front of, he will always stick out. And consider the lack of black outlines most cartoons should have. Look at this, you got a samurai wearing white, yet it's not white enough for snowy environments. He was really wearing gray the whole time. They really have to play around with the colors so other characters don't blend in. Truthfully, it's not about color, it's about tone, lights to darks. I've heard the strategy of painting in monochrome first, while color is figured out second. It's a great feat when you can have characters overlap on top of each other and it's still readable. My favorite designed episode was Jack and the Rave. Kids are being mind-controlled to dance all night under the mercy of an evil DJ, which is redundant because all DJs are evil. To save the kids and their bad taste in music, Jack infiltrates the rave in disguise by beating up a teenager, stripping him naked, and taking his clothes, boxers included. What the fuck, Jack? To populate these crowds of ravers, the artists looked through the Japanese fashion magazine Fruits for ideas, the very same magazine that helped inspire the game Jet Set Radio. But I think the pinnacle of Jack's stylization came from the episode Samurai vs. Ninja. An evil ninja's dressed in black and blends into the shadows. Jack's dressed in white and blends into the light. They got a battle while the sun is going down and Jack's losing light, causing him to stick out like a dinosaur thumb. It's so simple but feels so elegant. That sums up the series. Episodes could be in the range of sci-fi, fantasy, comedy, horror, or even film noir. But I've met people who don't care for the comedic episodes, like the Sandals one. What's always been a mystery is how does Jack get his clothes restored after they've been torn up each episode? It's not explained, he just gets them back. But the one time his Jordans get scruffed, we need to have an entire episode of him trying on every single type of footwear. Times like this, I felt like we were wasting time. I wanted to see him get back to the past. It's filler, it can be annoying, but there are times it's just fun to watch the character fool around. Not every episode needs to be life or death. It'll be slow, but Jack will make it back to the past eventually. Oh wait, no he didn't!
The end!
Watch out!
All good things come to an end. Samurai Jack canceled after 52 episodes without fulfilling his purpose, leaving the fans hanging. But the show was not intended to have a true ending just yet. It wasn't goodbye, it was more like, smell you later.
Yeah, I don't know what actually happens to Jack ultimately. I almost don't want to know. I just want to keep having adventures with Jack.
By 52 episodes, Gendy and the crew were tired and wanted to create new projects. They moved on, but in time, the fans and Gendy himself yearned for a true ending to finally cap off the series.
You can't use it yet, Samurai Jack. Not yet. Not yet.
It is impossible.
Will you abandon their hope? Can you not feel their desperation? Will evil forever rule the world? Have you forgotten?
No. I must return to the past.
Ain't gonna happen.
We shall see.
Oh, you going all old school on me, huh?
This sword carries the history and strength of my people. Its power is immeasurable.
This samurai has proven himself as the mightiest.
Insolent fool!
Great ancestors, hear my plea. If I am worthy, grant me the strength to vanquish this evil abomination. I honor all who trust me. My cause is worthy, great ancestors. Let my sword be your instrument of justice.
Unbelievable.
Freedom, honor, and fear were heaped upon his name.
Aku! I will never give up! I will return to the past and destroy you!
And congratulations on the Emmy Award,
Yes.
finally.
Finally, yeah.
8 years.
Really, honestly, like usually we get nominated almost every year and we always lose to The Simpsons. Like, we should.
Then we lost to Futurama.
Oh,
and
right,
one year
right,
we didn't
right.
lose to Simpsons, we lost to Futurama.
Oh.
And then the next year we lost to Samurai Jack, which we'd never heard of.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't know, but it won last year.
I've never heard of that before.
It won an Emmy.
Samurai Jack won. Isn't that a sandwich, a Jack in the Box or something?
Right.
Past its cancellation, every so often rumors sprung up for a revival, reboot, live-action movie, CG movie. Guillermo del Toro would direct it, Tarzan Zing would direct it, but any news that was announced never materialized into anything. In a world full of reboots and remakes, I knew it would happen eventually.
Jason, can we book the Samurai Jack? Sorry, just taking care of a little business.
One day out of the blue, Cartoon Network's late-night block, Adult Swim, posted this teaser. That's right, Samurai Jack is back and coming 2016. And 2016 came, and here it was. They missed the 2016 deadline, but 2017, Samurai Jack was back after 13 years.
Go kill the samurai!
Who cares anymore? There's no way home. There's nothing to fight for.
A 10-episode miniseries to finally tie up the loose ends. 50 years have passed, yet Jack can no longer age. He has lost his sword and given up hope. It feels like the old show, now aimed at adults. It's more violent, though the blood is subdued and used sparingly to enhance the story, rather than to be exploitive.
Let's get slicing and dicing, swinging and bashing, hacking and slashing, babe.
People were mixed, but I love the new characters and relations. I saw it as a great continuation that could have been better for me. I was still cheering on and having a great time. What soured it is sometimes the pacing was too fast in a few areas, or they would waste time on less important scenes. And they got rid of certain characters too soon. Mako, the voice of Aku, is no longer with us. His replacement, Greg Baldwin, didn't fully sound like Aku, but still acted just like Aku would. He was good.
Ooh, what am I saying? Please continue. Never mind what I said.
If you're new to Samurai Jack, I recommend at least watching season 1 of the original before getting to this, or these episodes. Beyond this point in the video, I will now get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen season 5, get the heck out. This is where your video ends. People call the romance between Jack and Aku's daughter Ashi rushed, but look. They're both virgins, okay? I kinda just accepted it. Now, the ending I expected, since all the time portals to the past were destroyed, Jack would realize he can't change the past and decide to move on, continue fighting for good, inspiring others to do the same. Sort of how the IDW comic book series, which is not canon to the TV show, concluded. But the ending we got was instead, Aku's magic transports Jack back to the past, ending evil's reign, giving us the cruel fate of, well, Jack, you got what you wanted. You undid the evil that is Aku.
He will never hurt anyone ever again.
Jack left without saying goodbye to his friends or getting a final word for them, which may or may not have been intentional and left me feeling empty. My first reaction was disappointment with the ending. I thought it was too safe and too expected, but there were consequences in doing this. All the friends he met are gone and maybe never born or born in a different timeline in order to prevent centuries of suffering. The quest he trained for since childhood is complete. Jack is fulfilled yet alone with nothing to fight for, but in his sorrow the gloomy skies open up, revealing distant lands to venture. Half of Samurai Jack was enjoying the view, taking in the scenery. That's what's left for him. Destined to continue and wander the world, meet new friends and enemies as an ageless, immortal samurai. The exact thing we watched the series for. It was a great idea for an ending. It wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed the ride, and maybe it isn't over yet.
He moves like a crane, graceful, with a wind of battle, leaving only one standing. His name, Samurai Jack. Toonami presents 3 hours of a warrior on a journey to enlightenment. In a place without rules, Samurai Jack. This Saturday from 1 to 4, a special 3-hour marathon, only toonami.
Who the fuck was that bitch, and what happened to this scene?